following podcast has been paid for and brought to you in part by Front Row Material.
In these last seconds, we'd like to communicate out to all those listening that this goes out to a select few, the not for everyone, the outsiders, the left behind and forgotten. It's a cold world, so bundle up. And now your host for the Cult of Beardo, Big Daddy Beardo.
Hey, welcome guys to another episode of Cult of Beardo. I am the Ritt. I am joined here by my good friend from the north, the Butt, and my good friend here, Renegade. How you guys doing this week?
Doing well, buddy. How are you?
I'm great. I'm glad to see that you're back. It was a good surprise seeing you on FRM Pod this past Tuesday.
Good.
So,
being back.
what have you guys been doing?
Not a lot. Work. Trying to enjoy a little bit of decent weather. Not a whole hell of a lot to do.
What's up, bub? Hey, just living the dream, man. Work and rock and roll. Got practice this weekend, so looking forward to that.
That's good. That's good to hear. Man, we got a very big guest coming on. He is one of the top stars on the Indies. He is a very good professional wrestler. I'm going to bring him in right now. What's going on, man? How you doing?
I've been better, man, but I guess I'm doing better now than I was last week. It was a rough one last week. I'm sorry I bailed on you, but that surgery kind of hit a little harder than I thought it was going to. Knocking me on my butt for sure, but as usual, I'm doing pretty good.
I'm glad to see the surgery went well. Man, what a way to sit there and be crowned the first ever back-to-back Super 8 champion.
No, I lost. I broke my ankle, man. I couldn't finish the match.
Oh, I sat there and swore that you won that.
I should have. I was ready to, but yeah, no. In the first 3-4 minutes, I went to hit my man with a baseball slide. I don't know if you ever seen Pac kind of did the same thing, and I rolled my ankle up underneath and just snap, and we were done. I heard something pop. I rolled right to the floor. And John Finnegan came out. He says, "Hey, can you get back in?" I said, "Nope." He said, "You sure you can't get back in?" I said, "Not even close, bro. Like it is. I could feel it was destroyed. So there was no way I was rolling myself back in the ring. I'm like, you can ring the bell, man. I know this wasn't the happy ending we had planned, but this is it."
Man, what a way to sit there and man, you go there and you're expecting high expectations. You were the odds-on favorite to win, and just circumstances happen, and man, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, a lot of people keep telling me sorry, but it's one of those things where, like as a pro wrestler, we know the risk we take. You know what I mean? Every time we get in the ring, and for me, I've been super fortunate that over 15 and a half, almost 16-year career, this is the first time I really kind of broke myself. So I've been really lucky. So maybe it was my time, I guess, is kind of the way I was looking at it as far as. In pro wrestling, somebody's always getting hurt, and I guess it was my turn. But I don't need anybody to say sorry or feel bad for me because I know, I know the risks of what I do and what I love to do. And so, the fact that it happened it's just part of the game. So now we just deal with it.
So a lot of the people I've been telling that you were coming on the podcast and everything, like I followed your career for many years, going way back to the early days of Sean Hayes, then, Dasher, and, now a very good professional wrestler. They keep asking me, what's up with the name? So can you give us a little insight?
Well, I was happy to see, I was watching you guys introduce yourselves. You guys all have great names like me. We all got pretty fantastic names. So we're the podcast full of 4 great names. The name for me was just I wasn't even looking to change from Dasher Hatfield, but I wasn't necessarily opposed to the idea either. Truth be told, when I first decided I wanted to lose my mask and become a heel, I didn't want to be Dasher Hatfield anymore then. But the kind of the way it worked out, I was kind of had to be still. But I just always felt Dasher was such a good entity. He was such a good person that I couldn't imagine tainting it by making him become a heel, at least with that name. So I always wanted to change it. And then one night, I don't know, I got this idea, this is a very good professional wrestler idea. Actually, it stemmed from I was going to work for a company that ended up falling through, but it was going to be like a sports league type gimmick where I was a captain, and there were 7 other captains, and we all picked teams, and it was like competitive, almost like a NBA or Major League Baseball or something. And they had all these cool ideas. And the team names were really cool. The team names were like the Canadian Destroyers or the Boston Crabs and things like that. So it was like city, but still wrestling themed. And I was like, no, I want to be a very good professional wrestling team. And they're like, no, you got to be whatever your team is. I'm like, no, I want to be a very good professional wrestling team. So initially the idea started with that, where I just wanted to be the very good professional wrestling team and have like these generic shirts that just said very good professional wrestling team with no like frills or anything. And so that fell through. I was like, oh man, I really wanted to do that. And then I was like, wait a minute, I could just make that me. Like that can just be me. And once I got that idea, like there was no turning back. Like I loved it. I was so in love with it. The couple people I pitched the idea to were all like, no, that's dumb. And I was like, good. That's the reaction I want. And that makes me love it more. So I fell in love with doing it. And then, since I've been doing it, though, like more people tend to like it than I was expecting. I kind of wanted everybody to hate it. It's kind of 50-50. And I was looking for like 90-10. I wanted people to hate it. But I love it. I think it's awesome.
That's something that I wanted to ask you about. It was in trying to read about you, I was looking at some of the names you've had in the past and found some of them very intriguing, like Creator Wrestler. I thought was very interesting, and just wanted to get your take kind of on your creative process for a lot of that stuff.
So that the Creator Wrestler necessarily wasn't my idea. I just started, like the Ritt had said, like I trained initially with guys at a place called PXW, Martial Law and the Love Bug. Those are 2 great dudes. And they had Quack come in and run seminar. And right as soon as I met Quack, I was like, I want to learn what that guy knows. Like if you've ever been to a Quack seminar or heard him talk, he'll blow your mind in a matter of seconds. So I was like, I need to go train with this guy. So I was training with him for a while. And it was a Chikara idea for a gimmick. And I just happened to be the person that they asked to do it. So the Creator Wrestler was basically, it's exactly what it sounds like as far as it's just like a video game. I went out in like generic gear. I didn't, I was new into wrestling, so I wasn't the best wrestler. I didn't have the best look to me, which I felt like was part of the gimmick, because that's like kind of what happens in a video game. You start out and you're just like this very average type dude. And I like to think, and maybe I'm giving myself a little too much credit here, but that Mike saw, my drive and my work ethic, and he knew I was going to improve, which the gimmick needed somebody like that. Because every season it had to get better. You had to get better. You had to show you're evolving if this were a video game. But the way the character worked was I just went out and I kind of had good but generic matches. And then fans were allowed to enter ideas. For about 3 to 4 months, I would wrestle as Creator Wrestler. And then at Young Lions Cup, I would debut as whatever the fan idea was that was chosen for me to turn into. So that's why I've had a few gimmicks in Chicago. So it's always Creator Wrestler. The first year I became Moscow the Communist Bovine, which was like this big Barney-looking like cow suit. I hated it. It had, again, I'm not too much of a negative Nancy, so I try to find the positive in everything. And that cow suit kind of forced me to learn how to work a gimmick. Like I didn't have another choice, right? I couldn't do moves. I had this big giant head on. So my only option to get over it was like learn how to become this cow man. And so it taught me how to do that. So I was grateful for it in the long run, no matter how disappointed I was at first. Then we rebooted Creator Wrestler season, the second season. So again, generic guy, but better, a little bit better now. A little bit bigger, a little bit faster, a little bit stronger. A couple fancier moves. Gear's a little bit nicer. And the second season, then I became Ultimo Breakfast, which was like a breakfast Spartan type thing. Fans and people really kind of enjoyed that. I hated that one too. I didn't really know I don't know. Not really my thing that I was like. Coming in as a young wrestler, it's not like I didn't dream of being this toaster head breakfast thing. But as much as the gimmick wasn't my favorite, being a part of Chikara was my favorite. I loved it, especially back then. Like it was just so special and unique and different in the world of wrestling. So I was just loving my time there and being surrounded by so many great wrestlers. This is back in the day when your Claudios were still there and your Sarah Del Rey's and your Gulaks and all these great people who've gone on to do amazing things. And then third time around, that's when I became Dasher. And Dasher I loved. I'm a big sports guy. I'm a sports nut. So once I got the Dasher gimmick, I was just like, and the other two didn't exactly set the bar very high. So I was like, yeah, I love this. And then fans liked it and enjoyed it. So we found a way for that one to stick around. And then eventually just years of being Dasher and being this uber baby face, eventually I wanted to try something new. Like the challenge was gone. I felt like I'd already accomplished everything I wanted to do as Dasher Hatfield. I was like, all right, like on to the next challenge. Challenging myself physically and creatively, man, that's what motivates me. Always getting better in one way or another. And when that felt easy, like I was like, all right, I got to try something new.
Nice.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just curious. Growing up, what really got you into wrestling when you were a kid? Like most of us can remember a specific match or a specific wrestler. Is there anything in particular that made you go, that's what I want to do? I want to be that guy.
Yeah, I got a couple things actually that kind of build up to that. So like my love of wrestling started as long as I could remember, and mostly because in the Ritt knows back when I was Sean Hayes, I used to tag team with my cousin Blake Hayes. And Blake was a diehard wrestling fan. He's even like 7 months younger than I am. And like he loved wrestling. I think I loved wrestling because of how much he loved wrestling. Like this has to be the greatest thing in the world. Look how happy it makes him. So I'd still say he's a much bigger wrestling fan than I am. I think I just like to wrestle more than he does, if that makes sense. But for us as kids, it was Mania 6. We were 6 or 7 years old. He was a diehard Hogan guy, and I was a diehard Warrior guy. And just like I remember that, like it's probably my oldest memory of just sitting there so pumped for this match. And then my dude won, so I got to talk all the smack afterwards. But that's like my wrestling love, I think, was ingrained in just the emotional roller coaster I went on to that night. Becoming a wrestler for me is definitely very different. That stemmed more from like I was about 13. I kind of stopped enjoying wrestling. And then again, Blake to the rescue introduced me to ECW on my MSG channel about 11 o'clock on Tuesday nights. And I fell in love. And my dad's a great dude. He would take me. He didn't even like wrestling, but he would take me to Ag Hall. We'd go see ECW live. Some of my favorite moments in my childhood were like live ECW shows, which was great. And then I was like I always felt like I wanted to wrestle, maybe never had the guts or the money to like dive into training school. And then at about 19, the rise and fall of ECW documentary came out, and just listening to everybody talk about that brotherhood and how they believed in what they were building and how everybody was on the same team and working at the same goal, like that hit me hard. And so when I started wrestling, like my goal wasn't to wrestle on Mondays or, in Japan or wherever. My goal is to find that group of people that want to change the world of wrestling and work to build something that's special and different that's never been built before. And that's a box that I happily believe I can check off. Like Chikara at its best was definitely that. It was doing, when you look at the impact Chikara's had on wrestling as a whole, it's undeniable. And just to be a part of that, to me, like checks that box as far as finding that family and that brotherhood. Obviously it came to a sour end, but as far as my time I spent there, loved every second of it.
Well, seeing that Chikara came to an end, another up and coming promotion not too long ago started up, Camp Leapfrog, and it seems to me like that, like it has the same vibe as Chikara in the great days that they started, and just so happens you're the champ, or you was the champ, So how was the feel, being a part of a great upstart company like that?
It feels great to be there. Like, because with Chikara, I got there maybe 5 or 6 years late. With Leapfrog, I've been there since the beginning, and I don't want to take any credit for what they're building there. I'm just another guy on the roster. It's Chris Levin and Sam Laterna kind of run the show there, and I love what they're building because it gave I kind of like almost the lost class of Chikara students, like those last people who are graduating and never got to wrestle a Chikara show, or those people who graduated and maybe got to wrestle a little bit for Chikara. Like it's allowing them to have that still. So the fact that like Chris is going out of his way and Sam to build this thing, like I'm just super in awe of them for doing it. And I'm pumped to help out and be there and just have fun and wrestle and help the young kids improve as much as I can. That's what at this point in my career, I kind of feel like that's my role. So just, have a good time and to help everybody get better.
I was doing a little research on you, and it seems like training could be your after wrestling, after your in-ring career's done. Could be the next step for you, because I seen that you love training. You want to network, and what was it back in?
Car here I got. Sorry to cut you off.
Oh,
my wheels.
Nice.
Oh, you got
man.
You got to pimp that out.
Yeah, I gotta get some stickers or something for it. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
But I seen back in April, you were trying to get some networking and get a bunch of trained wrestlers together and just share and try to get better. Would that be something you'd be interested in once your wrestling career is done?
Maybe. And we actually had that going. We had it going for the whole month. And it was going really well. And that's obviously there's a lot of disappointments in getting hurt. But that's one of the bigger ones for me, is just because I found that group of people, and every week we did it for 4 weeks. And the first week we started with 3 people, and then 6 people, and then 8 people, and then 8 people again the last week. So it was getting bigger, and everybody seemed to be enjoying it, because a lot of times traditionally wrestling training is you get in and there's some workouts and some stretching. A lot of you guys have done it. There's, somebody runs you through some drills or whatever. And most of the time, at most of the training I've been to, there's always this kind of 20-minute, half-hour period after the training where everybody kind of sticks around to work on something they want to work on. They got this spot they want to work on, this move they want to work on, whatever. And that was always my favorite part of training, where it's hey, I don't need to come to training and work out, because I do that, enough as a professional. I do that on my own time. I'm in the rare moment now where I have a wrestling ring with me. I have some great minds around me as far as other people who are, very good professional wrestlers. And I just want to kind of pick everybody's brain and work on my wrestling ability. And so that was kind of my idea going into it. And that's what we were doing. We showed up, I made it real clear when everybody got there, hey, I'm not your boss here today. There's something you want to work on, you work on it. I'm not going to make you do 100 squats. I'm not going to make you run around the ring or take 1,000 bumps or no. There's places for that, but that's why that training was only open to people who are already wrestling on shows regularly, because they'd already been through those bumps and that work and that grind. So this was literally just an open canvas, and we were making some pretty cool stuff happen in the couple weeks we had. Hopefully, once my ankle's all back together, we'll pick it right back up. The dude who owns the building's called me a few times. He's offered to come cut my grass. He's a great dude. So everything's still in place for it to go back to what it was. I just need to be healthy.
Yeah, it seems like you and I, when I was running a wrestling promotion back in the late 2007 to 2011, were the same thing. You have the show time. That's great. But then you have after the shows. And I was the type of guy, I would go to other promotions myself and scout talent, talk to the promoter, try to swap. Hey, you have such and such contact info. I can, help you out getting this and this person. And that's how you network to make not only you, but other promotions and other wrestlers around you, exposed and get their name out there. I don't see a lot of people actually wanting that or doing that. It's more, me, all about, myself. And it's good to see that you take a whole completely different aspect with it.
Yeah, well, but to play devil's advocate a little bit, that started, even my idea, I'm helping other people out, but it selfishly started with, I want a place to go work on what I want to work on without, there being a trainer who's kind of dictating how the training goes. I just want a place to go in for 2 or 3 hours with other wrestlers like me. So it did start selfishly with what I want, but obviously that's not, the end goal. The end goal is to make everybody better. But one thing I've learned in wrestling, and especially now being hurt, when I had my surgery Tuesday or Wednesday, it was the most painful day I ever had in my life. To get in the ring that day was my choice, and the pain I'm dealing with is mine. So in pro wrestling, I do feel like there is more of a reason than other places to be selfish a little bit, because you as a pro wrestler, you get a real small window to succeed. and it's your body. Every bump you take and every bruise you're going to feel, like you're going to be the one who deals with that. So like I do feel like there is, a reason for you to kind of stick up for what you want. Although with that being said, like if you can help somebody out along the way, like do it. You know what I mean? Like you might as well.
Yeah, Jerry. When we are on FRM Pod, Jerry Lynn says the same thing. Your body only has so many bumps.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to take advantage of every opportunity you can. And it seems like you already got that mentality now. Hey, I got to take advantage. Got to get everything I can out of this because there's only so many bumps in my lifetime.
Yep. And that's something I think I learned earlier on in my career. I've never been a crazy, like, let me see how many bumps I can take in this match, or let me think of the craziest thing I can fall off on a guy. That's never really been my tactic. So maybe that's helped me stay injury free up until this past weekend. But yeah, I don't know. So for different folks, or has different strokes for different folks. There you go.
Yeah. So you also had a documentary I seen.
Mm-hmm.
From IWTV. How did that come about?
That was all their idea. My guess is, and this is kind of how I internalized it in my brain, was when we all went into quarantine, right? There's not wrestling shows for them. So they still had to give product to their subscribers. So they started coming up with some original content. They did The Masked Wrestler, which was awesome. I don't know if you guys watched that, but that was really cool. And then their second idea was a week in the life of a wrestler. So they just hand a group, one at a time, but give different independent wrestlers GoPro. I think I had it for about 8 or 9 days. I just filmed whatever my family did for those 8 or 9 days. And I didn't quite realize the magic that we made as far as like just being a dad and having this great thing to like look back on all these years later. But the guy who made it, John Filipavage, is great. He found this great story and footage we gave him. He pieced this whole thing together. Like, it's super cool, man. When my kids are big, we're going to be able to come back and watch this. If you haven't seen it yet, it is on IWTV. It's called A Week in the Life. They released Jeff Cannonball episode a couple weeks ago. And then this week they're going to release an Edith Surreal episode. And I know there's a bunch of other great indie wrestlers coming up too that have already filmed, and they're just piecing everything together.
Yeah, I love Jeff Cannonball's soda reviews. I don't miss those at all.
Yeah, Jeff Cannonball's great too.
Just a quick question about when you won the Super 8 tournament. I guess it'd be 2 years ago now. You're at the end of it, you're wrestling against Tremont. A lot of people I've read knock on him. He's just a hardcore wrestler. He can't really wrestle a lick type of thing. How do you feel the match kind of went out? What was your experience dealing with him?
I didn't wrestle Tremont. The last match was KTB. But
Wikipedia is wrong.
Yeah, stinking Wikipedia.
Piss me off.
Right? How about it? But Matt Tremont as a whole is one of my favorite people in wrestling. I think maybe even touched on what you said. Like, people think he's this like big, like badass hardcore dude, and he is that. But he's also like one of the greatest minds I've ever been around. Like, he's one of those dudes I can just sit around and just listen to him talk for a while. There's something like very poetic about the way he speaks that, like, I don't know. I just love sitting around and listening to that dude talk. I mean, I've never wrestled him, so I can't really speak on, his in-ring work other than I enjoy watching him wrestle. But as a human being and a wrestling mind, he's top notch.
Nice. And considering some of the other past winners, which I probably have wrong as well, I'm going to guess now, that have won the Super 8 tournament, Daniels, Low-Key, Tommaso Ciampa, how does it feel to be in the same class as those guys will say, following along those lines? Those are some pretty big guys to have your name put up there with. How does that make you feel?
The greatest thing I've ever achieved in wrestling was the night I won Super 8. And it is because of that. It's because of not only who's won it, but guys who've wrestled in the tournament and have lost. There's some huge names that have lost the tournament and didn't even win it. So like that's one of those things that you do in wrestling that can never be taken away from you. Right? Like, you win championships, you lose championships, whatever, you get jobs, you lose jobs. But when people look at that Super 8 list, right, they're going to look at all those names, and mine's going to be there forever. And that's super cool, man. So definitely the most special moment I've ever had in wrestling.
Well, you were in there this year. You didn't get to work him, but Ricky Morton, what was it like having him in all those years of wrestling experience and knowledge in that locker room?
Well, you got it off Wikipedia. Ricky Morton didn't show up. His flight got canceled that day.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
You got all your stories wrong. But I've been in Ricky Morton locker rooms before, and Ricky Morton is a trip, man. Like, I just love how much that guy loves wrestling because at his age, like, he probably doesn't need the money anymore. He just probably loves being in that squared circle, loves being in front of that crowd and doing his thing. He just loves wrestling. He's always happy. His mouth's always going. He's always talking. But I've never had a bad Ricky Morton experience. My favorite Ricky Morton experience is probably the second time I ever met him. We'd just driven to West Virginia. We drove about 5 or 6 hours. We drive down there, and so I say hi, and I got to the bathroom. So I go in the bathroom, and I'm sitting there, having a little alone time in the bathroom, and somebody comes in and sits in the stall next to me. So I'm like, all right, whatever. And then all of a sudden I hear, and you cannot misidentify Ricky Martin's voice. Like, he's got a very distinct voice. So he's sitting next to me, and I just hear him go, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then just like all kind of farts and happened. No, I was like, oh man.
I've never heard anyone do a countdown before, but
yeah, he like counted it down like a rocket was gonna blast off.
I'm gonna do that at work tomorrow.
That's my favorite.
I would do that. I would do that, but it's a one-person bathroom, and it'd just be awkward.
He's like, it'd just be weird.
Yeah.
You said earlier that you're a big baseball fan. So why are the Red Sox the best team in baseball right now?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that made no sense. I remember looking at the gambling odds before the season started, and they were, I want to say the odds were like 70-1 on them winning the East this year. They're supposed to finish dead last. I think they had the worst odds. Them or Baltimore. I think they had the second worst odds, maybe. I don't know. But I remember it was like the Yankees were the clear favorite. The Blue Jays and the Rays were both like right behind the Yankees, and then Baltimore and Boston was just way down. But I think it has a lot to do with the Yankees never play good in April. That's just tradition, Bronx tradition. So the Yankees are playing much better now. So they'll start to fall. It's not going to end that way.
The only reason I brought that up is I'm a diehard Red Sox fan, and
I just broke
and I sit there and see you're a Yankees fan.
Mm-hmm.
But my bigger question for you is, I know your thought process that I heard, but what was your thought process when you were a Dasher saying you were a Marlins fan?
That was, like, again, Dasher, the clear ultimate babyface. I had to find a team that when people asked me who I loved, like, nobody would get mad and not support me anymore. So, like, if I'm like, hey, I'm a Yankees fan, right? Every Red Sox and Mets fan that I ever would meet instantly hates me now. So I always kept that, like, super, super kayfabe when I was a Dasher Hatfield. And the Marlins were actually, like, as a kid, I learned to love the Marlins because they beat the Yankees in that World Series, where it was like we had gotten 1 or 2 or maybe 3 by then. I think 3, like in the 90s there. And they were the wild card team, and they did it twice. Like, they did it to the Yankees, and they beat somebody else. I forget who else they beat in the World Series. But they came in as a wild card, scrappy team and went all the way and won the World Series. When they did it against the Yankees, and that's like the Yankees in my lifetime at their best, that run from like 96 to 2000, like, that's amazing. Like, how you can't just give respect to like the ultimate underdog win that just happened right there. So I always had like a special place in my heart for the Marlins. So that was like, all right, like I can easily lie and tell people I like the Marlins just because I'm caught up on the players and I could talk about it a little bit. And I do own like a sweet Marlins hat and a Gary Sheffield jersey. So I rocked with the Marlins a little bit so people didn't hate me.
Could have picked the Blue Jays. I'm just saying. Nobody would have hated on that.
Yeah, the Phillies fans.
They're over that by now.
Are they? Philly fans are a little grumpy, a little surly type.
Well, fair enough. It is Philadelphia.
So I caught an interview you did once. You had a Mattingly thing hanging behind you. Big Mattingly guy?
Yeah, Mattingly is probably my second favorite Yankee. Bernie's my favorite. Mattingly's my second favorite Yankee of all time. Yeah, I got a couple. I wish I was downstairs in the man cave. I could show you guys around, but I can't get downstairs nowadays. But with my ankle the way it is, so yeah, I can't get you down there. But yeah, down there, just Mattingly alone, like there's an autographed bat, there's a hat, and there's a ball that has like his face on it. So I was like 9. My dad took me to Camden Yards, and I was standing by third base trying to get Mattingly's autograph during the warm-ups. And my dad went to get food. He said, "Hey, you stay right here." So yeah, Dad, I'm going to stay right here. And as soon as he left, Mattingly started signing autographs like 3 sections down. So I bolted. I was gone. Took off, got the autograph. It's downstairs. It's like got his face on the ball, and he signed it right underneath. It's really nice looking. But obviously at that point, then I was lost. But being a smart young man that I was, I went and found the security officer. Took me to let me color in a coloring book until they found my dad. I guess they put his name up on the thing and like announced for him and whatever. And my dad goes, "I thought I was going to come find you scared, and you were just all excited. You got Don Mattingly's autograph." I was like, "Yeah, Dad, it's great." But yeah, we got a bunch of stuff down there. Like that Yankee era, dude. My dad's the greatest. We would go to Yankee Stadium like 6, 7 in the morning when players were walking in the stadium because that was the best time to get autographs. And we go get something to eat. We'd get in the stadium as soon as they opened, so we could go catch like home run balls out in left field. I did this twice. Don't ask me how, but twice I got a ball Jeter hit during batting practice, and then got him to sign it. So I have 2 of those downstairs, balls that he hit, that he autographed downstairs. That's pretty cool too. And Jeter's one of my least favorite Yankees of all time.
Wow.
Man,
everybody loved him.
Go ahead.
Well, I thought everybody loved Jeter.
No, like my grievance with Jeter is I love Bernie so much that I took offense when they started calling Jeter the captain. Like those were Bernie's teams. Like that whole 96 to 2000, those were Bernie's teams, and they're calling Jeter the captain. I was like, "No, bro, that ain't the captain of those teams. Bernie's the captain of those teams." So I mean, I'm not gonna say he wasn't a great baseball player. He was phenomenal. He's one of the best baseball players ever, but just not on my favorites list.
So your wrestling career, you spanned over, you said almost 2 decades coming up on now.
Mm-hmm.
And, what are some of your favorite matches that you've had?
I got a couple that pop in mind right away. One was back in the Hayes Brothers days. We worked one place where we worked heel, and up until I lost my massive Chikara, this is the only time in my life I didn't work heel, and I loved it. It was my favorite, and they secretly wanted to do it. I don't think we knew how to work heel very well because we were like being heels, but getting that like baby face kind of like people liked us because we were cool reaction, which we didn't know we weren't supposed to get. And so the promoter wanted to like secretly turn us babyface. And so the way he did this was he booked Blake against like this guy. His name's Chad Adams. I don't know if you ever ran across Chad Adams. He passed away now though. Great dude. But Chad was like a little Bobby the Heenan type manager who the fans hated, and he wrestled sometimes. So they put Blake in with his manager, and Blake beats the snot out of him, and the place goes crazy. And then the next month, I see they booked me against him. And I was like, no. I'm catching on to what's happening here. They want me to go beat him up, and this turns us babyface. People don't love it because they did it last month. He's not the smartest. I was always the brains of the operation. So I went up to the promoter. I said, "Is there anything specific you want out of this match?" And he goes, No. You do your thing. I was like, "Okay, so I can do what I want." And he's like, "Yeah." And so I literally went in this match, and I worked a wrist lock and maybe a hammer lock and a headlock. It was the least exciting wrestling match you ever saw in your whole life. Like, I just grabbed a wrist hold, I held him in it, I let him fight back, I put him in another one, I let him fight back, I put him in eventually I grabbed him in a sleeper hold, put him to sleep. Least exciting wrestling match ever. Even when his hand fell the third time, the referee leaned in and he goes, "Is that really the finish?" And I was just like, "Raise my damn hand, let's go." And I remember this old man came up to me at the intermission and he goes, "Hey, I gotta ask you a question." He says, "You could have really beat the snot out of that guy. Why didn't you?" I was like, "Sorry, I did." And he goes, No, but you could have really got him. I was like, "Sir, I went in, I won the match, I left unscathed, I remember you won. And that old man's anger was enough to let me know I did my job that day. I'm learning how to become a real heel and not get a babyface reaction when I wasn't supposed to." Yeah, it's that one. My match with Boomer where I lost my mask, that was real important to me just because it was my first day without the mask and showing my face to the world. And so I knew that match had to be great. I think in my brain, for people to care about what happened after the match needed to be great. And I was in there with a guy who had less than a year's experience, main event in Chicago in a sold-out building. So, like, I had a lot of pressure just to pull that off as well as we did. And it turned out great. Like, I wouldn't change a thing. So really pumped with that one. I had a match in Easton, Pennsylvania against Brody Lee early in my days. This was my first big win on the Indies. Before that, I'd always been like a young guy or a low mid-card guy. And this was my first big win. And just always working him was a pleasure because he never made me feel like he was the superior. He always made me feel like I was included. He always listened to my ideas. He never said no. He oftentimes took the ideas and made them better. But just a great, happy dude to work with. And we had a match in particular where he was using the big boot as a finish. So the idea I sold him on was he goes to boot me in the corner. He gets hung up. I take his boot off. So now his boot's not on his foot. Ran a couple spots. He gets me with the big boot, but with no shoe. So I was able to kick out at like 2.9. And then something with the finish. But it was like I pride myself in being a storyteller. And I feel like that was the match where I kind of discovered my niche in storytelling a little bit. And I was just grateful that he was cool enough to play along with it. Because a lot of guys, sometimes you pitch them out of box ideas and they're like, well, that's dumb. That doesn't make sense. And it's because people, love this their cookie cutter things that they do all the time. And it's like, no, man, people seen that. They think outside the box a little bit. Don't be afraid.
Well, you say you're an art of storytelling. Me personally, I love storytelling in wrestling, in matches. And it seems to me like that's something that's missing nowadays. People want to do spots after spots after spots, but there's nothing leading up to it. No good storytelling. What are your thoughts on wrestling nowadays compared to the great storytelling of, yesteryear?
Yeah, and maybe that's, because I'm older now, so yesteryear is what I grew up watching. But, I mean, I don't hate on any kind of wrestling. Like, I realize wrestling's like music, man. There's tons of kinds of it. And, I'm not going to lie, I'll sit there and watch Will Ospreay go nuts with spot all day, although that guy is a storyteller, too. Don't let him fool you. But, I'll enjoy some acrobatic spot wrestling for sure. I I might be able to watch all of it, find the one thing I can do, steal it, and find a creative way to use it in my match. But more power to those guys that can go in there and just do that. Their bodies are built for that, and they put in work, whether it's at gymnastics places or whatever, to be able to do the things they do. Great for those guys. My body just can't do that stuff anymore. I don't know if they could do this stuff those guys do. But I'm kind of happy there's not more storytellers because it still makes me stand out. Although I don't believe it's a dying art though. I do believe there are other storytellers out there, but I do like that that's not what everybody focuses on because it's what makes me different. It makes me stand out when you come into my match and you're just not going to get shine, cut off, heat, come back. Here's my comeback, boom, boom, boom. Here's some falsies and a finish. There's going to be some kind of story in there if you're paying attention hard enough. But yeah, I don't know. I can see where there's less of it, but I don't think it's dying by any means.
It's something I've been curious to. Oh, sorry, bud.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, bud. Your shot.
No, so something I was curious to ask you about and to find out more about you just as a person because we're more than just what we do. Is what kind of music do you jam to?
I'll find something I like in just about any genre of music. So if I go through my playlist now, I have one I call a cooking playlist. You're going to find everything on there from country to 80s and 90s hip hop to some 90s alternative to some 70s classic rock. Again, like the wrestling thing, man. I'm not going to hate on anything because I'll find something I like in there. But if I had to narrow it down, I'd say I'm mostly classic rock guy and 90s rap. Those are my two wheelhouses. It's funny, when I grew up in the 90s, I mostly listened to alternative music. My friends all loved rap music. And I was like, no, man, Third Eye Blind and Matchbox 20, that's where it's at. And but now as I got older in my 20s and 30s, I developed a love for my '90s hip hop, my Biggie and NWA and Nas, everything that goes along with it.
I think that was the best. I'm not a huge rap fan myself, but I do feel like that was the best era of rap and hip hop was that '90s. Biggie, Tupac, all that kind of stuff.
See now, and this
I
is
sort of feel like
recently this is developing. I'm developing a love for like that '80s like funk rap, like the initial rap that started it, like your Grandmaster Flash type. You know what I mean? Like I've been rocking to a lot of that lately. Like I started listening to it, and I'm like, I want to know more about this. Like that's all I knew before. Like recently was just like Sugar Hill Gang and Rapper's Delight, and that was about all I had. But lately, I've been cooking. I've just been going on like my Google Music or YouTube Music. It is now. And just popping on '80s rap, and it's amazing.
Yeah. I think if there was an era, right?
Yes, Run DMC, you got it.
Man, so speaking of music, I have to ask you your entrance song. It's amazing.
It's so good.
Like, how did you pick that as your entrance song? Because it makes it so unique. Like, on the Indies, there's a couple people, past and present, that on the Indies, you listen to it and without a shadow of doubt, that's who it is. Tony Deppin's "We Built This City" is one of them. There's a tag team, which I'm sure you probably worked back in the day, the Best Around, Bruce Maxwell and TJ Cannon.
Yep.
They're
the best around.
It's like, and then you got you and your entrance song. Like, how'd that come about?
Actually, I picked a different song, and I pitched it to Sidney Bacabella, who's my dear friend and manager. And I pitched it to him, and he goes, "No, this one." And he sent it back to me, and I started listening to it, and I'm like, "Nah, I'm not coming out to this song." And then it started repeating, and I was like, "Yep, this is the one. Thank you, Joe. You're a genius." Because like I'm not a big Foo Fighters guy, so then I'm like, and then it just keeps going, the best. And the more it does it, the more I love it. It's the greatest thing ever. But yeah, I got to give Sidney all the credit for that one.
So what was your original choice that you wanted?
I couldn't even tell you. It was some random song that came on. It was, what's the name of the band? This is like 60s classic rock or 70s maybe. I forget the name of the band. They sing "Cover of a Rolling Stone." You know that song?
Dr. Hook.
Yeah, Dr. Hook. It was a Dr. Hook song. And it was some random one I'd never heard before. Actually, I think I put on the cover of a Rolling Stone radio or something, so they were playing a bunch of Dr. Hook songs, and it came on, and I found something I just loved, like the jingle to it. Like I felt like I could move to the beat of it well. And I was like, "Hey, Sidney, what do you think of this?" But then he had a much better option for me.
Well, we have somebody in the chat. Boog wants to know, because I guess he broke his ankle, if you have any metal in there, because he said he has 12 pins and a plate in his ankle.
Oh, so I broke my fibula all the way through, and I fractured my ankle twice, and I tore all the ligaments. In the fibula break, it didn't go straight across it because I turned my fibula, so the break went like up it. So there is a steel plate on that with only 8 screws, so you got me beat there. And then there is a pin that goes straight through my ankle now. Like, I don't even know, it's like a decent sized pin I saw on the X-ray that goes straight through my ankle. So I don't know if that like holds it all together. I don't really know what that's doing. But yeah, so that it cut me open on the right side for that, and then I chipped off like the bone on the end of my ankle. So I don't know what they did to fix that, but I got an incision on the other side of my ankle as well. But yeah, I got some hardware now. Be a little part machine.
Jesus Christ!
Wow. So
no thanks.
Yeah, no, I agree. No thanks, man. It was not fun. Let me tell you, they took me. Where did they take me to? Robert Wood Johnson Hospital in New Brunswick. Nobody was allowed in with me, so I sat in the waiting room like 45 minutes, freezing cold. I had a shorts and t-shirt on, right? Then my ankle broken in a million pieces. I'm sitting in a hospital like 45 minutes. Then they wheeled me in. All the rooms were filled, so I'm just like in a bed in a hallway. But I'll tell you what, I got to sit there, and it made me even feel a little better about my current situation. because I saw people who were in way worse medical condition than I was. And then those doctors and those nurses, those people are angels from heaven, because there's people in there being rude, people in there on drugs, people drunk, being nasty. And it's midnight, 1 a.m. on a Saturday. And these doctors and nurses are being nothing but patient and amazing with everybody in there, man. So it sucked, but like I was sitting there kind of started counting my blessings that, that these doctors and nurses are here, and that I'm not one of these other people in here. Like, my foot's going to get better. Some of those people in there are dealing with some stuff where they ain't getting better.
So how long do they give you the timetable for?
It's kind of really varies right now because of the ligaments that I tore. So he said I will be starting to walk in about 6 weeks from when I broke it, which is a big deal because we leave for Disney in 6 weeks from right now. So I need to be able to move around Disney World. We're going to see how that goes. I might get myself one of those little electric carts maybe. So until I'm walking again, I'm going to have to go. I think I start PT like the next week or two, because I got to, I guess, reteach my ligaments how to do what they do to walk. I don't know. It's going to be quite the journey. But until physical activity, it could be anywhere from 3 months to a year. And I guess it depends on me doing what I'm supposed to do and my body responding the way it's supposed to respond.
Well, a little advice I'm going to give you for the whole Disney thing: if you can milk it. You're going to get your kid to the front of the line on a lot of the rides that she wants to go on.
That's what I heard. I heard we might be able to like zip through some lines with my little scooter. But yeah, if I can milk it, I'm going to milk it. That's for sure. I think the doctor said I'll still have the air cast on, so we'll be able to make it happen. So, get her on the Avatar ride. We went 3 years ago, and she missed the Avatar ride by like a smidgen. It was like a little, not even a centimeter. They won't even let her on the ride. Poor kid. So she's pumped to go on it this time, though.
Nice.
So
that's like a 2-hour line, so I wouldn't mind skipping that.
Oh yeah. Are you going to Universal also while you're down there? Or?
She's not here right now, so I can tell you. I'm secretly taking her. The whole family's not going to Universal. Just her and I are going to Hogwarts. She's big into Harry Potter these days. So we planned a rest day in the middle, and then I don't really rest well. That's why this ankle thing is torturing me. So I convinced my wife to let me hey, you and Sawyer can just hang out and swim for the day, and I'm going to take Riley. We're going to go to Universal and go see Harry Potter. So she doesn't know it yet, but yeah, we're going to go for one day.
Nice.
That's pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I heard on Twitter you don't rest very well. You took an energy drink to get energy just to sit on a recliner all day.
Like my body, well, I think I did it too because my body is so used to caffeine, like from like pre-workout and things like that. Like I started to get a headache, and I'm like, I bet you this is because I haven't had caffeine. So I was like, I asked my wife, I said, honey, could you go get me a Monster out of the refrigerator? She's like, what do you need that for? But so yeah, I did drink an energy drink to sit here and watch The Wire on HBO.
So, well, on Cult of Beardo here, we love to ask the hard question, but it's a fun one. Hot tub time machine. If you can go back into time, anytime, any match, take somebody out of the match and insert yourself, what match would you pick and why?
Oh man, that's a great question. I can take anybody out of any match ever and insert myself. See, but like that's weird because you don't want to like ruin one of your favorite matches ever. So you're like, what do I do? I'm trying to think of like a match that I like maybe somebody was in that I could have did better than. Maybe.
We've had a wide variety of answers for this question.
Yeah, I'm stumped right now. Like I want to give you an answer, but my brain's like every time I come up with a match, it's one that I like, and I'm like, well, I don't want to change that. Okay, I'm not a really big wrestling historian, so the only one I could think of, and as a storyteller, I love this match, but maybe as wrestling fans, they would have liked a better match. There was a WrestleMania where the Demolition beat Haku and Andre the Giant for the tag titles. And the story they told was Andre never got in the ring. Like they cut the ring off, and beat up Haku to the point they just won the match. And I just thought maybe Andre was hurt, so that's why they didn't get him in the ring. So maybe I could have been Andre that day, and they could have had a real banger of a match. But I do admire the story they came up with instead. Yeah, that would just be one I'd be in. I'd just think to make the match better because I think it was clear that Andre was hurt.
Well, I got to say that you're the first one to pick a tag team match and insert yourself in.
It's an interesting.
So-
I got the team with Haku. That would be awesome.
Oh, and if you go out drinking afterwards, the stories that you could hear and the fights you can watch, because I heard that plenty of stories that, oh man, which from what I'm understanding, most of them are true. That people just walked up to them and try to pick a fight with them. I don't know why you would.
I never understood that about people in bars where they want to pick a fight with the biggest dude in there. That's not for me. I don't like getting punched in the face.
Well, when you look like the way you do, you can't afford it.
Nope.
When you look like us three,
Hey.
1 or 2 ain't too bad.
Hey, look like you. Face like a can of smashed assholes.
Oh. Well, want to definitely thank you for giving us some of your time tonight to talk, wrestling, talk a little history, have some fun, have some laughs.
Absolutely, fellas. Thanks for I'll get my mind off just being stuck in my house staring at this TV a little bit longer.
Any way we could get you to come back sometime for a part 2, maybe post ankle?
Yeah, let me know. Post ankle sounds good. Let's plan for it.
Okay. You want to tell everybody how to get a hold of you?
Yeah, you want to get a hold of me? I'm pretty active on my Twitter. It's at Very Good Pro Res. I got an Instagram, same thing, at Very Good Pro Res. And if you want to book me to commentate your show, I've got a couple commentary bookings coming up. I already got a couple. So that's pretty exciting. I'm really looking forward to doing some commentary. I think when the day comes that I can't wrestle anymore, that's going to be my way to still be a part of wrestling. So I figured I'd start carving that niche out now while I'm on the shelf. But if you want to book me for some commentary or some wrestling post-injury, my email is verygoodprores@gmail.com.
Want to sit there and plug any of your upcoming bookings? Feel free.
Let's see. They got the LVAC Mahoney Drive-In is coming up next weekend, not this weekend. So that's like the 22nd weekend. That's a great time because there's going to be a fun wrestling show, like 4 or 5 matches. And then the 2 movies that play directly after the wrestling are all wrestler themed. I think they're playing They Live one night. They're playing Beyond the Mat. And I forget what else they're playing. They did just announce that on Saturday there because they're running Friday and Saturday. There's going to be a surprise visit from Orange Cassidy who's going to stop by to do whatever. Big Dan Champion going to be there. LVAC shows, the hangout shows, man, they're just about having a good time. Like, bring your kids out, family friendly. Like, my wife and kids will be there. Those shows are literally just about everybody having a good time. I'll be there, and I will also be over the summer, I will be at the first, I think it's the first ever. They're doing an all-women Super 8, so I'm going to do some commentary on there as well. And then whatever Leapfrog shows pop up. Leapfrog, super special place. Especially if you're like me and you got an empty spot in your heart that your car used to fill up. Like, Leapfrog's a great company to give a chance to. A lot of hungry kids thinking outside the box, working really, really hard, and definitely deserve some support. But you see me there doing some commentary as well.
Well, I do hope you enjoy the ring there at Camp Leapfrog. I am the guy that sold Alex the ring that they used.
There you go.
So
the gigawatts.
It sit there and hurt me to do it, but it was time to sell it because it was just sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah, now it's getting a whole lot of use. It's doing a whole lot of good right now.
Yeah. So, well, we want to thank you for coming on and, take care.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. Have a good night.
Thank you.
You too.
Good night.
See ya.
Wow, that was a great interview. So, what do you guys think?
Well spoken, that's for sure. Probably too well spoken to be on this show.
Yeah, and he's well over the top well spoken to be on FRM Pod.
True.
But
No,
well,
he's
we're going to
nice.
take
Cool guy. I like him.
Gonna take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're gonna hit up the topics.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Beardo, just when you thought you couldn't get any lower. Oh, my man, the butt. I was going to do it to him, but hey, I decided not to. He should know by now that's only a 30-second commercial. I promised the man no more 3 minutes with the butt. So
Yeah, especially not the first one back, you know.
But yeah, that was a great interview, man. Talking to him, it brought me back, 2007. When I first seen him and got to talk to him and work with him a little bit. That was great.
Yeah, he seemed like a cool guy, and it's good to get to know him a little bit.
But I was going to do it to you, but I decided not to.
Don't do it.
No, I gave you that promise, so I'm not going to do it. But I was like, Renegade. Man, does that man not know that's only a 30-second commercial?
Give me a break.
Well, we are working on me and Renegade are going to be working on doing other commercials, to try to fill in the times a little bit better. Some commercial breaks. But man, I'm just happy to have you back.
Happy to be back, buddy.
I was a little upset that you kayfabed me and didn't say, hey, I'm going to be on FRM Pod, on Tuesday.
That was kind of a last minute thing.
Yeah.
Wasn't something well planned out. So I figured, why not?
Nah, you should have came here first.
Sorry, buddy.
I need the ratings.
If you're using me for ratings, you're doomed.
Well, speaking of ratings, let's get to our first topic. Compare and contrast John Cena and Charlotte Flair. But this is what you wanted to talk about. So I'll give you the floor to start the show.
Yeah, no, it started off from an article I was reading on Bleacher Report, and they were just saying, well, basically that Charlotte Flair is slowly turning into John Cena. People are getting tired of her. She's always getting pushed to the moon. Maybe keeping some other talent back a little bit. I'm not saying she's necessarily doing it. Just a byproduct of her always being pushed. And people are getting tired and slowly going to turn on her. Pretty much like everybody did to Cena. That's what I think is definitely slowly happening. I just don't want to see it turn to where people hate her like they did Cena, which was unnecessary. I mean, I get it. People were tired of him, but man, it seemed like everybody hated that poor bastard. Right? Hi.
I'm one of those people.
Oh.
I'm one of those people that, yeah, I've seen enough.
Well, and that was the thing. That's why they turned on him. Everybody just got tired of it. And that is what's going to happen with Charlotte. There are other people you could put in. Still keep Charlotte around. I'm not saying, have her be a whipping post jobber. That's not what I'm saying. But you can have other people, put them in there, give them some push, give them a little bit of a rub, and not just have it be the Charlotte Flair division. So
yeah, like me personally, you don't have to have a title or be in the title picture to be an established star on the show. Right. She's in the title picture way too much all the time. You can have her working with some of the lower talent. I'm not saying lower as in like talent wise, but I'm saying lower on the card to help elevate, because
exactly.
Heck, Charlotte's not going to be there forever. Look what they did to Cena.
Mm-hmm.
Cena, they just kept throwing people at him left and right, and what what'd that do? Eventually, he ran out of opponents, and it hurt the company, in my opinion.
And it hurt him, hurt his career too.
Yeah. Heck, Renegade brings this up all the time when we talk anti-Cena and Nexus. Nexus was possibly, the one of the best, hottest things they had. And John Cena single-handedly beat them all. How? Why?
I think that also single-handedly destroyed Wade Barrett's career. Wade Barrett could have been the big star out of that group.
He should have been.
Should have been.
Yeah, well, Wade Barrett.
When you take a group of when you take a group of 6, 7 guys, and one guy destroys all of you, that single-handedly destroyed that group. They were nothing after that. It was a miracle Daniel Bryan ever became anything after that, because the rest of them were relegated to nothing and were gone within months. So
was Bray Wyatt not in that group? Husky Harris then? I guess he would have been.
No, that was
him and McGillicuddy got in towards the end, didn't they?
No,
no?
I thought that was afterwards. No. Were they?
No, he was in there, I think. Pretty sure.
I don't think so.
Either way, his Husky Harris career went to shit. Nothing ever came of it.
Because I think the original members were Wade Barrett, Otunga, Michael Tabor, Gabriel, Justin Gabriel,
Skip,
Heath Slater,
Skip Sheffield,
Skip Sheffield.
Yeah, about whatever.
So, and in my opinion, overall, if you want to look at the look, I thought Otunga was going to be the breakout star, with the look. But Barrett overall was the all-around wrestler.
I like Barrett.
Barrett was great on the mic, and he's still great on the mic, isn't he? Over in NWA Power.
I have no idea. I didn't know that.
He was over there for a little bit.
Wade Barrett?
Well, he goes by a different name.
Oh, is he not signed with WWE again?
He might be now.
A commentator or something.
Yeah, I heard there was a rumor he might come back. I don't know that he had yet, but I could be wrong.
But Charlotte is going to be the next John Cena because they're just going to keep feeding the talent to her. And I don't understand how they went and had her win so many titles so quick. Like between her and Sasha going back and forth, there was like 6 title changes within 3-4 months. And that was just ridiculous. That was hot potato with the belt. Travis sits there and says that he was on NWA, but he's back on NXT.
Yeah.
Okay.
As a commentator.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great talker. But just getting back to Charlotte, it's just getting tired. You don't get excited to see her anymore. It's, whatever. Been there, done that. Why you don't use her to push some of the new talent or ladies who just need a little bit of a rub, something like that. I'm not saying job her out. Still have her get her wins and stuff, but she doesn't need to be in the title chase all the time. It's just everybody's going to turn on her, just as they did with Cena. And that's unfortunate because Cena doesn't deserve the hate he gets. And I don't want to see Charlotte get the hate that's going to happen. They both had 2 good careers for that.
Right. One of the big problems is WWE, and especially in WWE, is they're in the business of picking stars, not making them. So they decide who's going to be the top star, picking Charlotte, picking Roman Reigns, and saying, okay, you're it. Instead of back, years past when it was more organic. You earned the spot you had. and thus earning the fans' respect. Now WWE picks the star and says, you're going to like these people, whether you like it or not. And then they push them to the moon. They don't build up other stars. You know, Charlotte can only be as good as the competition she has. And if you're not building other stars around her, then, you know, she'll be pointless as being as great as they're trying to make her out to be, just like John Cena was. If John Cena is going to be the face of the business, you had better have other people built up to go against him, or it's not worth anything. So then you quickly get tired of a guy who just beats everybody all the time, and there's never a legitimate threat to take him down. In years past, you had, it wasn't just Austin. You had Austin, you had The Rock, you had Triple H, you had The Undertaker, you had Bret Hart, you had Shawn Michaels, you had all these people around him who were legitimate threats that, you know, you weren't sure if Austin was going to win. You weren't sure if this was going to be the night he lost the belt, or if he was going to lose this match. But he was the guy, and it only made him better, and it made him bigger, and it made everybody else look good as well. But when John Cena finally takes over, a lot of those other guys started to drift off a little bit. You had no more bigger stars. You know, Randy Orton was probably the only other same level status as him. But they didn't put... yeah, up
to
and
a lesser
down
extent, but he was
Right.
in the talk.
Right, but they didn't focus as much attention on those guys to make them, you know, sure, you can have Cena as the face, you can have him as the top. Again, he doesn't have to be in the title match every time to be important, but you need other people around him to make him just as good.
That's right.
And like with Cena, like once he ran through all the talent, you know, what they do? They had to bring somebody back to make him, you know, must see, and they end up bringing back The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
With Charlotte, once she's done running through the talent, who do they have to bring back? You know, can't be Ronda now.
Well, it seems the go-to all the time is the Trish Stratus. Is the
Mickey James.
big go-to they throw in all the time. You could bring Mickey James back, but I feel like they don't value her as much as they do Trish.
No, not at all. They sent her shit in a garbage bag. No, they don't give a damn.
They could have sent her down to NXT to work matches like they did in the beginning with NXT with Natty. Heck, Natty went down there and gave Charlotte one of her probably best matches ever. And Mickey James could have went down there and did the exact same thing with all these young women.
Natty's fantastic.
She's a solid worker.
She's probably the best wrestler in the women's division. Best technical wrestler.
It's unfortunate she's been given a raw deal over her career.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what value they place in her if they just see her as more of a, all right, yeah, you're great, and yeah, you've got the name and legacy and all that stuff, but we're going to use you as more of what they call mechanic. You know, you're going to be pitted against these other women, but you're not going to be the one we push. We're just going to use you to make them look good and things like that. I wonder if that's what value they place on her. But it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see for Charlotte what they do with Becky Lynch when she comes back. You know, whether they give her a big boost right away. But yeah, I do feel like they need to build up other people around Charlotte and make them just as important, because it only makes her look better and it makes them look great too.
Yep. If you're just beating jobbers all the time and you're expected to win, nobody cares when you win. It's seen that coming.
I really hope they save the Becky Lynch return for SummerSlam as a big surprise, right? Since that's supposed to be the alleged return of fans to live events.
Yeah, I heard it was going to be either all the way full or mostly full. Is what I was hearing. So that's going to be good to have that back.
But with Charlotte, there's not much she can do elsewise. Like once you have that title so many times, just like John Cena, what's there left to do? They already had Charlotte win a Royal Rumble. There's other people that needed that more than her.
Right.
Like Bianca Belair. She needed to win the Rumble to get to that next level to show how good she is. And they did that great. But Charlotte should have never, won because she didn't need it. She's already a main event caliber player. But with Vince, I don't know if he's just using, like, don't get me wrong, she's probably the most athletic overall around female competitor they have. She's might even be the top 10 athletic wrestler in the company they have. But the name wise, is that what's selling tickets? Because it's going to get old real quick.
Is she selling tickets though? You think really?
I think at first, her, Ronda, and Becky, when they made event at WrestleMania, that was kind of like the pinnacle there of women's wrestling over the past how many years?
Yeah, that was for sure. But today is.
But
anybody care
now,
really?
Like once you hit that point, how do you beat it? How do you like? How do you top that point? You can't. You're main event at WrestleMania. And right now, we're 2 years removed, 3 years removed from that.
3 years.
And 2 out of the 3 of them aren't in the company.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them's Charlotte's a part-time worker now. Just like Cena was. So
the comparisons are there. They're almost eerie how similar it is between the two.
Charlotte's career burned out a lot faster than Cena's did before he started.
Hell of a lot faster.
Heck, Cena came out, ruthless aggression, slapped Kurt Angle. Mm-hmm. Charlotte's first match was when, actually her first official match on Raw, she lost to somebody, but she wasn't a pusher or name at all. But then when she actually was brought up, Stephanie was hyping her up, Charlotte Flair, you knew that they had plans for him and they were going to start shoving them down your throat nonstop.
Yep.
The only thing Charlotte hasn't had yet that Cena had was that, somebody coming back that left to come back, to have that moment with at WrestleMania, like they did with The Rock and Cena.
How many times can you go to the well and bring Trish back? Trish no spring chicken no more.
I don't think
you're gonna go that route.
I don't think Charlotte would be the match people want to see. They always compare Trish with Sasha, for that matchup. And in my personal opinion, out of which you guys can chime in the chat, who is the best 4 horsewoman they have? Becky, Charlotte, Bayley, or Sasha? Renegade, you want to go first?
Who the best was? Oh man, I feel like they each have a strength different from the other. but I feel like I'd probably have to go Becky Lynch. Just overall, like all around. Charlotte's got the name. Charlotte's got the athletic ability. But I just feel like Becky offers a little more. If that makes any sense.
Well, to get the point across, there's no wrong answer to any four of them.
Right.
You know, like you said,
they're all great.
They're all great. They all have their strengths. But there's certain people in the group that I feel you can get more out of.
I'd go with Bailey, personally. If I was picking one, she'd be my go-to.
I think once Bailey's seen the writing on the wall of the hugger can only go so far. How do we change this up? And when she turned heel, I think she went to the next level. You know,
it was a smart move, I think.
Oh, it was, and
because it looked to me like she was headed down that John Cena route of being the same character too long and becoming stale and boring.
Mm-hmm. There's only so many, you know, wavy hand people and handing out bandanas and wrist stuff, and that whole image was a John Cena cookie cut.
Yep, pretty much.
And I'm glad that she stepped out and said, "What can I do to get more eyes on me?" And then once she did that, all eyes were on her because she became the longest reigning SmackDown Women's Champion. You know, she held both titles, same as Becky did. And me personally, I'm going to go with the third one, Sasha. Sasha lives, breathes that gimmick she has because it really is her. You know, she doesn't get opportunities given to her. She goes to them to get the opportunity. You know, she puts forth the effort to go out and do the hard work, puts in the time. You know, me personally, any one of the three that we mentioned, all at different points in their career, the company was able to put all the eggs in their basket, and they didn't need Charlotte. You know, but as soon as Charlotte came back, we were all forced, just like when John Cena comes back, we were all forced to go through that. Just like, you know, recently, she automatically gets a title match. Her, Asuka, and Rhea Ripley. Why? What does she do? Where has she been?
You don't need her in that match. Asuka and Rhea Ripley could have a great match. You don't need Charlotte Flair.
Exactly.
Or you could, if you need to add something to that match, that would be a perfect place to put somebody like Natty Neidhart in. Just because she can do your wrestling, giving everybody their breaks and whatnot. And she'd be a perfect addition to it. You know full well she's not going to win going in. But just as a pure worker, you'd be better suited to that, and it gives somebody else some more exposure versus, hey, it's Charlotte again. Yay.
Yeah.
That's all.
I don't want to get too far from this topic. Travis had said if we think it does a disservice to give them 10-plus title reigns in 5 years, you know, we're throwing a lot on them in a short amount of time. I think it does wear them out quickly. It wears the fans out quickly. All right, yeah, you're just going to keep winning the title. You know, I feel like there's more done in a build, right? A person chasing a title, not just trading it back and forth like her and Sasha did. Therefore, it was just like every other week. one would just beat the other one for the belt. So, I mean, I kind of agree. It does do some damage to put too much on him too fast.
Well, when you're talking that many title changes, 10 plus title reigns, so that means there's that many changes in 5 years. It kind of makes the title not worth as much. It's not like, you don't have your pure champion. Like if somebody had it for 2 years, I know it's a long time, but just have people chasing them steady, maybe throw in a tournament every once in a while or something. But it makes the title, it validates the title, and it validates the champion. Versus it just flip-flop back and forth. Just doesn't seem to mean as much. The belt doesn't, and being the champion just kind of gets watered down.
Right.
Well, what I would love to see is, okay, they're already doing the Women's Royal Rumble. Well, and as a very good professional wrestler, mentioned, they're doing a women's Super 8 tournament to counteract, the men's Super 8 tournament. Why wouldn't WWE try to capitalize, on Queen of the Ring? You have a King of the Ring, that way twice a year. Then you could sit there and spotlight the women. I know Vince said that an all women show. Who was the one that pitched that? Was that Chelsea Green? Or was that Mickey James?
I'm not sure.
It was one of those
Mickey
two.
James had recently mentioned in an interview that she wanted to do an all women's. I don't know if she means all women's company or an all women's just like an event, but
It was. Then if that's correct, then it's Mickey James, and she went and stated that went to Vince and wanted an all women show, and his counteract was Women's Evolution was the worst buy rate we've had. Nobody wants to see that. Well, nobody wants to see it because you're not building stars. You've got the same 3, 4, 5 at the top, and no one else underneath. I love watching AEW because, a lot of the under talent gets spotlighted. Anna Jay from the Dark Order, one of my favorites. What's it, Taya Conte?
Conte, yep.
Another great one that they have there working. It's not always Britt Baker. Who's the women's champion in AEW? Something Sheeta?
I'm having a brain cramp.
That makes two of us.
Give me a minute.
I'm
working on it.
It's not always Nyla Rose. They spread the TV time around to where they get equal opportunity, and they all build stars along the way because they're all helping each other out.
Hikaru Shida. Thanks, Travis.
Travis is the new official stats man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where WWE, they wait till somebody's way past their time, where the fans hate them, and then they're like scrambling to try to find somebody new, to be the next star. Where AEW, oh my goodness, they're top in their ranking system. Any one of the top 5 could be champion at any point. Yep. Because they put time and develop each one, but then they don't shy away from, okay, the top 5 are great, but we got those other 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're gonna still give them time to let people see them, and connect with them. So when it's their time to move up, they already have a whole story lined up behind them, where WWE won't do it.
That's the whole point of an undercard, is to create more talent. People, yeah, they're on the lower end, not necessarily because they don't have the talent, but they're not known or whatever it would be. They need some seasoning type of thing. But you get to know a little bit about them, you get to learn about them. You know, I mean, you can't tell me neither one of you guys has a favorite wrestler that's definitely not a star. He's like a lower tier, right? But you discover him, and he's, you know, there's nothing special about him. He's not getting pushed to the moon, but you discover him like, hey, that's my guy. I like him or her, whatever it would be, or that tag team. You need that to build, to work your way up, and you know, you get that diamond in the rough, and somebody you can push that's a homegrown talent. Right? That's the whole point of the undercard.
But I have to sit there and thank you for that. I thought for some slide way you're going to sit there and say like a Cesaro.
Nope.
You took the high road. I appreciate that.
It doesn't happen often. Enjoy it.
This is twice in 1 week.
I'm a changed man, Ritt.
Well, we agreed on FRM Pod.
Yeah.
And now you took the high road. Wow.
Told you, that month I was off. I'm a changed man.
No, mark this day down.
Yeah.
He'll be wearing Cesaro gear before you know it.
Oh. Gear down. Let's not go too far now, okay?
Baby steps.
Yeah.
Well, final thoughts on this topic. But I'm going to give it to you first.
Final thoughts on is they got to gear Charlotte Flair back a bit. Stop just having her always at the top, always in the title matches, or the fans are going to completely turn on her. It's going to tarnish her career. Or from the fans' standpoint, people are going to turn on her. It's going to shorten her career. When the fans don't care anymore, you're not around much longer. You're not selling shit. They're better off just taking her back a bit, using her to help some of the other talent along. She can still be a legitimate wrestler and a legitimate name, just doesn't need to be chasing the title all the time. Give it a break. Give somebody else a chance. Everybody wins.
Good points. Renegade, final thoughts.
I completely agree. And for crying out loud, build other stars. Do it organically. Don't just say, you're going to be the next big star. Somebody that the fans aren't behind, don't know much about, or just aren't ready for yet. Build other stars. Make them just as important as Charlotte Flair. And that will only enhance not her career, theirs as well, and then everyone wins, everyone benefits, the fans will enjoy it more, and maybe then you can build up something like a Queen of the Ring or something that people would buy into because it's interesting again. It's not interesting when the same person's winning all the time. But that is something I would like to see, a Queen of the Ring. I think that would be a big opportunity for a lot of the women to showcase their talents, to make a name for themselves, and build a big heel off of being the queen, which I think would be very fitting for certain characters. So, yeah, I'd love
Shayna Baszler.
I was thinking Eva Marie.
Yeah, if they were to do that soon, yeah, it'd be big for her.
The only reason I said it. Yeah, the only reason I said that for Eva Marie is because she's more gimmick, less wrestle, and she needs that gimmick.
Right.
Because she can't wrestle. She doesn't benefit.
As far as we know, no.
So, no. There are much better options.
Don't get me wrong. She might sit there and have a match, go toe-to-toe with Charlotte, and go move for move. My jaw would drop. don't think that's going to happen, but there's always that chance. So
yeah, sure.
Well, there's got to be a reason they brought it back.
I'm hoping.
Right.
But next
reason,
topic,
but...
you guys are gonna start it off. I'm gonna take a step out. Wrestlers setting themselves up for life after wrestling. This was the topic I wanted to talk about, where wrestlers nowadays, they're thinking, 10, 20 years down the road after wrestling, where wrestlers of yesteryear, they were all living for the moment, most of them, besides your Mick Foley, who, from what Mikey said, is the cheapest person you ever find. So I'll be right back. You guys can start and sit and discuss.
Go ahead.
Well, you've seen this. Yeah, you've seen this. Even going back to the 80s, Hulk Hogan, I think, maybe in a way tried to set up a career, a life for him outside of the ring. But as we all know, those movies bombed, and that never happened. And then you have The Rock, and The Rock goes on to be one of the biggest names in pop culture. He's got the movies, he's got a clothing line, he's got his own production company. He's doing everything. I swear the man never sleeps. Mm-hmm. So, I've seen it now branching out into, commercials and movies and hosting gigs. Steve Austin's got hosting gigs, things like that. So it's good to see that more and more wrestlers are finding a life outside of the ring. Ritt and I talked earlier about Ric Flair, how, wrestling is all Ric Flair seems to have. And
yes.
I don't know if him hanging around has more to do with money, if it has to do, if it's truly just a love for wrestling, he just loves it so much that he can't leave it. I don't know. But, I don't know what the life expectancy of a wrestler is. You got concussions. I know they're doing more to help that now, but wrestlers in the past, how many concussions might have they had, and what kind of an effect is it having on them today? Multiple injuries, back surgeries, hip surgeries, all sorts of stuff. It's good to have that opportunity to have an extended life beyond the ring and not have to rely on coming back every so many years and doing more damage to your body. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, it's kind of like any professional sport, really. The window is short for the most part. Like, you're not going to have an overly long career unless you're a kicker in the NFL or something like that, because right. you're beat up, wear and tear. You can only take so much. It's fantastic when you see guys that squirreling away some cash, saving it or investing in it. JBL's another one. He's done very well for himself. I mean, he used to be on, I believe it was Fox Business or something or another at one point. I'm not sure if he still does that. He's got books out or whatnot. Because you can only wrestle for so long. And generally, the guys are usually done when they're, 40? Realistically, they're done full time. You don't see guys wrestling a lot past that. Well, you hopefully have a lot of life left to live. And you're probably a little bit beat up. And, it's not like you're just going to, get up and go, stock shelves at Walmart after being a professional wrestler for 20 years or something like that, because they're probably half beat to crap at that point. Right? And they could always do the autograph circuit and stuff like that, but I don't think that's making you huge stacks of cash. Right? It's almost like they need some some guidance through the different federations, mainly WWE, especially your AEW, your Impact. Those guys are making a buck. Maybe get taught a little bit about investing or saving or something, because you hear all kinds of stories about guys like Ric Flair. They call it naching it. Basically, spend every dime you got on whatever, just living the good life, which is all well and good. If that's what you want to do, you might want to save a little bit, because you're not making this money forever.
Right. I think
So
some
you
people
get used
follow
to
it.
making the coin, and then
I
you're
think
not.
right. I feel like some people get caught up in the idea that the money's always going to be there.
Mhm.
And it's not. You see a lot of professional athletes broke within 2 years of leaving their sport. So yeah, you get the idea that the money's always going to be there, and if you live too large, you'll live yourself right out of a paycheck. But Book has a good point too. There are more opportunities for people these days than there were back in the 80s and 90s. But then there's always the question of what do people outside of wrestling believe that professional wrestlers can do other than acting, because essentially a lot of their gig is acting. So, have we gone past the outlook of that wrestlers are just wrestlers and they can't do anything else? Certainly, I think
Mark
Rock might
Miro.
have broken that mold, but
Yeah, Mark Miro, he's a motivational speaker now.
right.
There was another guy I was reading about not long ago, was a motivational speaker. His name is totally escaping me now. Right, Sean Stasiak, he's a doctor or a physiotherapist or some bloody thing right now. Right? There are options. Like, you could still, ideally what you would hope they'd be doing is squirrel away a bit of cash, maybe have a little bit of education to them, right? Know something, not wrestle till they're half crippled or their brain is mush, or unfortunately they've become chemically dependent, whether it be on the bottle or on the pill or freebasing or God only knows what. But hopefully some guys are getting out before that. They have some money saved up so they can live a little bit. It is completely different now. Boog is right, than 20 years ago. You have more chances just doing interviews, on podcasts. I'm sure your bigger names are making money at that racket, a little bit to offset stuff like that. Maybe, I don't know.
See, my big thing about this topic that I love and I've been looking into is, you sit there and look at some of the wrestlers. The whole time they were in wrestling, they were making a brand and building that the whole time. To name a few before I get into one of my new favorites, you think of, like Boog says, RVD. Everybody knew RVD 420. They knew that he smoked weed all the time. Now look at him. He's selling it, different flavors, different brands, different levels, and he's making pretty good, successful money on that. He took something that everybody knew about, something that he knew a lot about, and is using advantage of that. Stone Cold Steve Austin. Man, you sit there and ask anybody, what's two things you know about Stone Cold Steve Austin? Giving the middle finger,
flipping them off,
and drinking beer. He has his own IPA, So he took something that everybody knew him by. He loves to drink, so he went and got his own IPA. Jericho told him about, hey, I think you'd be good at doing a podcast. Very successful podcast host.
Mm-hmm.
He tried his little dabbling with the movies. So some were good, some weren't. But he built a brand because his career ended, in my opinion, way sooner than what it should have. Another one, Eric Bischoff. He has his own beer.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, he has his own beer and stuff. But not only that, he also has a like a television, investors where he goes and him and a group of people go and pitch, show ideas to these big companies and sell them to them. Sell ideas to these, channels. And, he's thinking, because he wasn't going to do wrestling forever. Boog says about Bubba Ray and Tommy, they got their house of hardcore and their training, and they busted open on Sirius XM. Yep. Thinking afterwards. And then, I don't know. That's just something I heard about. Bischoff's beer company might have went under. I'm not really sure. I've
never heard of it.
Yeah. So. It was something. It wasn't national. It was more local up in Wyoming. But then we got the man of the hour, who, man, I just been digging, The Rock. That man has built a brand. It's got to be good if The Rock's going to put his name on it. Hence the shirt I'm wearing. Project Rock. He's got a whole Under Armour line of clothing out there. This thing fits like a freaking like a beast. Feels great. But he's got his own.
To sponsor your Ritt, so you can give up. Let it go, bud.
Hey,
he's not sending you a care package.
Hey, you don't need to. But that is, he's got his own energy drink out there, Zoa. That's more healthy energy drink. It's all natural ingredients. Zero sugar. And also I think 160 grams of something or another. Caffeine.
Crack?
But it's
160 grams of crap. Nice. I'm gonna order me a case right now.
All natural, huh?
Let me get my phone. I'm right on it.
But
first Coke and a Coca-Cola and
crap and Zoa. But movies. He spent years building this brand up, where he doesn't have to wrestle. He comes back because he wants to, not because he has to. Mm-hmm. You think of those guys, just to name a few. But then you got Zack Ryder, and with him and Myers and Chelsea Green doing their own conglomeration with podcasting, their toy collecting and everything. They're way ahead of their time. But then you look back at, like you mentioned, Ric Flair. That man had at one point probably more money than he had known to do with it.
Yep.
To a point where he had to file for bankruptcy
a couple times. And one time Vince actually gave him a loan to cover some of the stuff. And it's a shame. Like I seen him on a commercial for, I think, a car insurance commercial recently. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that man is putting his face and name on the line out there just to make a buck. And at one time, he was on top of the world. Nobody could touch him. Nobody could beat him. Every woman wanted to be with him. Every man wanted to beat the crap out of him. But how many wrestlers do you see it, though? Like, their career is over. They, a little bit on the autograph circuit for a bit, but they still have some fairly reasonable name value. But then not long after that, and unfortunately, they're living in some crappy little shithole apartment somewhere, broke, don't have a pot to piss in. It's heartbreaking because they're broken physically. You know, I'm sure they got to be suffering mentally after that. Hey, I used to travel the world, people screaming my name. Now I'm fucking broke. That's got to be hard on them. And when you see that, it's just devastating. You feel so bad for them, considering hey, they were kind of a big deal, doing well, and now they're whatever. Sometimes it's self-inflicted. Sometimes you just get a shitty deal, some bad investments. Some of your family might fuck you around or something like that. Sometimes, yeah, you do dumb things, and unfortunately, it comes back to haunt you in the end. But it's just so hard to see, and especially when you hear guys that don't even have a health insurance. More so, that's an American thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember when Kamala lost his legs, they had a GoFundMe because he couldn't afford it. He was broke. Right, had the surgery or whatever, and couldn't afford to pay his medical bills. Stuff like that. It's just so hard to hear when you think, no, he was a star. Seen him on TV every Saturday night. Right? No, poor bastard. No, if it's in a bad way like that, you feel for him. Right?
Yeah, and even going along the lines of Hogan, you would think Hulkamania is the biggest brand in wrestling for the longest time. But why does he keep coming back? Renegade and I were talking about this a little bit before the show started. And it's like, why does he keep coming back? Because he has to.
You think so?
I don't see any other way, any other reason why he would have to. If you Renegade brought this point up, I'll sit there and set it up, and he can shoot it towards you. But compare Hogan to Sting.
Right. I think Hogan comes around because he needs to. I mean, I'm sure that divorce, decimated his bank account. Plus, you have lawsuits, all sorts of things. So,
no, Boog, I don't have a Canadian baking company. Wish I did. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah. But I get the feeling Sting is still in wrestling because he loves wrestling. Like, just legitimately can't get enough of it. For him, how we mentioned a couple weeks ago about him, that little speech he gave at the end of a AEW show where he said this was some of the best wrestling he's ever seen. I legitimately think he loves wrestling still, and that's why he hangs around. But I think somebody like Hogan, Flair, I think they come around because they need it. More outside the wrestling than they do need to be there. More than they maybe want to be there. I think they need to. Unfortunately, because I think it's about all they have. Hogan did have a big boost there when he was doing the Hogan Knows Best. Was, I think, outside of wrestling the peak of his career until things started to fall apart. And then, you have one scandal after another one, and now, he's done a ton of damage, I think, or maybe not so much directly him, but there's been a lot of damage done to his brand than I think what he can make up for now. And another question I had was, do you think what's going on with Ric Flair and him hanging around maybe because of a financial need, do you think this hurts his legacy in any way?
Yes. He's a shell of what he used to be. I mean, you can't wrestle anymore. You can still talk and all that stuff, but you got to think, like Ritt said, he was the man, and now he's doing, auto insurance commercials and whatnot. Just just trying to get by. Now, I'm sure him just getting by is significantly more than me. You know, I mean, he's rolling in much nicer vehicles. He got a much bigger house. You know,
So
but
Flair
tough.
getting by there is like is his Ric Flair everyday life would be for us. Oh my God, this is the lap of luxury.
Oh, absolutely, like 100%. But it's still that you think he's done so much and he's still just getting by. It's hard to say he deserves better because if you had your chance and you pissed it away, do you really deserve it? I don't know, but part of me said he deserves better than that at this point. How old is he? He's got to be well into his 60s at this point, no? So
yeah,
I would think so.
It's just hard to see. It hurts your heart more than anything, or for me anyhow, because you remember the good old days, we'll say, and it's like, oh, poor son of a bitch, just getting by now. It's just a little disheartening.
It sort of reminds me of the movie The Wrestler.
Oh yeah,
yeah, which was a great movie, but that was almost enough to bring me to tears at the end.
Right.
That was,
and that guy had no business. That guy had no business being in it. I know it's a story, but health wise and he had nothing else, but he had no business being in that ring. And I think even the doctor told him, like, you can't be doing this, but it's all he had. Yep. And it's just sad to see the real life aspect of that character in some of these guys, and you just feel bad for them that you don't have to keep doing this, but some of them, that's all they have.
Yeah. And The Wrestler, the part that got me at the end the most was when, he was getting ready to go through that curtain, and I get goosebumps now. Sweet Child of Mine starts playing, and she goes, "You don't need to do this, I'm here." And he looks at her and he's like, "They need me. That's where I belong." And, he goes through the curtain. Oh my goodness. It's like he was set. Mine was already set and gone. That's where I want to be. That's where I'm going to die. And for the longest time, I thought that was Flair.
Right.
Yeah. Would it shock you? Oh, Jesus, this sounds bad now. Would it shock you if that was Flair one day? Like, he comes back for the 800th time at 81 years old and unfortunately goes to the other side in the ring?
Wrestlers say you never really retire. Look at Terry Funk.
Yeah.
But I know I'm pretty sure I heard that Vince already told Flair, like he did with Mae Young towards the end, you're not allowed in the ring. You're a liability. You can be outside the ring, but you can't be in the ring. Mm-hmm. So, but that doesn't mean
him and Vince have a falling out. He's got to make a couple bucks.
Some Joe Schmo
something.
I'll pay you $10,000 to wrestle a match at some shopping center. That 10,000 is 10,000. Yep. Just like for us common folk, $20 is $20.
I can imagine what you've done for $20 before.
Well, I'll tell you one thing I've done for $20.
Yeah. No, I gotta watch that again now.
By the way, what?
It wasn't very nice.
Well, that is nice. I could have went the other way and booted us out.
Don't do it.
Nah, I'm a man of my word. So, any final thoughts on this at all?
Well, I do hope that to see this more often and have some of these wrestlers find a life for themselves outside the business and build their brand, and so maybe they don't have to be doing this in their 40s and 50s and coming back in their late 60s. when they don't need to. I think that's why you see, Shawn Michaels doesn't want in the ring anymore, and I don't think
Taker's another thing.
I don't think you'll see Taker back again. Austin's not going to come back. They'll make appearances, and that's all well and good if they want to, not because they need to. And I would like to see them find peace and a life that doesn't put them at risk outside of the business. So I would like to see. I think you are seeing this more and more, but I would like to see them find a little bit of happiness outside of that and a life for themselves they can build on.
Well said. Kind of hard to follow. You just hope that it happens. Like, not everybody's going to be The Rock. Not everybody's going to be Stone Cold or Jericho or build those kind of brands. But just, build a brand or invest in something, some real estate or something. Just give yourself that cushion so when it's all said and done, you can retire, not have to go till you're crippled or anything else, and unfortunately live in a subpar life that nobody really deserves to live a subpar life, period, whether you're a retired wrestler or you're Joe Blow with Dunkin' Donuts. Nobody deserves that. So you just hope that they make some solid investments, build somewhat of a brand for themselves, and live a good life once it's done. Retire well, retire comfortably at least.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, one guy just came to my mind who has a really great brand is Xavier Woods. Xavier Woods with all the gaming, up, down, down. Like he's in with the young culture right now, and I only see great things, coming from him and that brand overall. Mm-hmm. But in case you guys want to sit there and check out the Butt, myself, and hopefully soon the Renegade, check us out on Tuesdays, twitch.tv/FRM pod. Our good friend Mike Freeland is the host. Usually almost every week we bring a guest in to talk. Then afterwards we have a panel, a 6-pack of questions, and it's around the horn style. So unfortunately, I can't get past the first round, and I don't understand why. But damn it, one of these days.
Did you get booted again?
Oh my goodness!
First round, gone.
First round. Hey, this is an outrage because another guy who came in late, piggybacked off both my answers, and agreed with me. He got 2 more points than I did.
I think the game's rigged.
Rigged? A freaking... Oh, my goodness.
So, too. I was the second one out. It's like, I don't know.
One of these days. But to fulfill your gaming needs, go to twitch.tv/Mikey Whipwreck _. You can watch him play some PUBG. He's usually on there with Lucha Freddy. Great guy, comedy. And he loves to sit there and just play video games to release some stress. So tomorrow, 5 a.m., FRM Pod drops on Spotify. This past week, there was no guest, but 6-pack of questions, 4 hours plus. Oh my goodness, I could not stay awake at work the next day. So,
nope.
I'm really glad that I get booted quite early, which I hope Freeland doesn't. I hope Freeland doesn't see this, because then it might become a regular. But now he'll
try and keep you on longer.
Maybe that's what I'm trying to
dishing points out to you.
Thanks, buddy. Now you just ruined it. I was using reverse psychology there.
Yeah, no.
Oh my goodness. So,
Boog,
I guess I won't be invited on it anytime soon.
Boog and Travis Bowhead, thanks for stopping by and hanging out with us. We want to thank our guest, a very good professional wrestler, for sharing some of his stories, his knowledge, and giving us some of his time. And man, but I'm glad you're freaking back.
I'm glad to be back.
Because we all know what you were missing.
Oh, God. I know what this is. There we go.
For one fall. Introducing first, weighing in tonight at 0.17 metric tons. Be the top end of Stevenson.
Come on, Butt. You know you missed it.
Ladies and gentlemen, he has
It is catchy.
a phenomenon in the world of professional wrestling. What's going on here? What the hell is this?
I wonder how many people jump out of here when we get to this point.
I am so glad that myself and Mike Freeland are working on getting this guy in.
I hope you do.
Is this another?
If we get it in after his interview, we're ending with this and it's done. There's no talk, no discussion afterwards.
Yep.
What's going to happen
That's
next?
fair.
Is Eddie Roberts going to come out and think he's a bushwhacker? What the hell's going on here?
Christopher Butt's going to come out and think he's a bushwhacker.
There he is. A phenomenon in the
Come
world
on, Bug.
of wrestling.
You know this is catchy.
From the top end of
Bugs out.
Stevenson, part of the airship map here.
I think it's time to play our favorite game of what's in a fanny pack. I think it's a half-eaten block of
Okay,
cheese.
Renegades.
Ladies and gentlemen, about that, see
We'll
it
go
loud,
roll
see it
aids.
loud. Greedo!
Still dancing, hey boys.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to say what's in the fanny pack. Well, this week,
What an ovation here!
it's more charisma than John Cena has in his whole body.
I have that in my fanny pack, and I don't even own a fanny pack.
Yes, you do.
I can't think of anyone with a bigger heart in pro wrestling that has made
You're
a
right.
connection with the fans.
You know,
that we have
Renegade,
in the last
you have to
3
love
years.
this. Because you're the one, you started all this.
From Stevenson, but tonight,
You're the one that brought this
You
up.
blew
You brought us up in the topic.
Listen to this.
Oh, I did. My bad.
We saw another fantastic match.
Well, we're gonna see you guys next week. Come check us out on Tuesdays, FRM Pod. I'm the Ritt. That's the Butt, Renegade. See you next week.
And tonight,
Later.
it is going on.